Hey, what's up? It's Matthew Allen here with Adjuster TV, and welcome to this free training on getting started as an independent adjuster. In this training video, you're going to learn who we are, what we do, and how to join us, how to get started doing this. One of my favorite quotes of all time is from Thomas Edison, and he says, "Opportunity is missed by most people because it is dressed in overalls and it looks like work." So we've got a problem here, right? There doesn't seem to be any reliable information online about becoming an independent adjuster, right? You get in the forums and you get on social media and Facebook and stuff, and there's a lot of opinions out there, but it's hard to know what's true and what's not true, and what's going to be helpful and what's not going to be helpful. So, I really strive on this channel with Adjuster TV and everything to try to provide as accurate information as possible. So, you're here watching this training because maybe you want to ditch the 9 to 5. Maybe you realize that there could be something better out there that doesn't involve you trading hours for your time, right? Or trading money for your hours, I should say. Maybe you want to get caught up on your retirement. A lot of people come to this work after having had, a full life with 1 or 2 or 3 careers in it, and this seems like a good way to kind of fast track or fill in the gaps where the retirement planning may be lacking. Maybe you're looking for some challenging work that will reward you for working harder and smarter. In other words, as an independent adjuster, we get paid by the claim, right? So the more claims you do in a day or do in a week or a month or a year, well, the more money you make, right? So you're rewarded. You're incentivized for getting more claims done, for getting more work done, for being more efficient. Some of the personality traits I believe that a independent adjuster needs to have are, got to have some grit. You got to have some stick-to-itiveness. You have to be able to kind of take a punch or 2 or 3 or 4 punches and get up and dust yourself off and keep going. Another personality trait of an IA is that you believe that nothing great comes without extraordinary effort, right? So, in other words, it's going to take more effort, and it's going to take more training, and it's going to take more work to achieve some extraordinary results than it would just kind of writing things out and being along for the ride and letting life happen to you. So if these things sound like you, if you sound like you got some grit, and if you want to make a change in your life and a change for your family's life for the better, then you're in the right place. This training is absolutely for you. So let's talk about the rewards of becoming an independent adjuster. You're going to have some lifestyle freedom. You can accept or decline assignments when and where it makes sense to you, right? So if you want to go to the Bahamas in February for 2 weeks, if you get called to go work, your IA firm calls you, you can say, "No, I'm actually have a family thing and I'll call you when I get home." Or you could send the kids and the wife off to the Bahamas and to go have a vacation without you, and then you can go off to St. Louis for that ice storm, right? So you have the choice. You've got the freedom to work when it makes sense for you, especially once you get up and running and you've really established yourself as a high quality adjuster. Financial freedom, probably one of the reasons why you're watching this video is that you heard that you can make a lot of money doing this. And this kind of financial freedom can help you get out of debt quickly, and also help you to save for your future and maybe, upgrade your lifestyle a little bit. Maybe you can move into a nicer house or get a nicer car or take more vacations or whatever. And of course, location freedom. It would be a dream of yours if you had a job that didn't care where you lived, right? So in other words, if you currently live in Kansas City, but you've always wanted to live in the mountains, you can go live in the mountains. It's entirely up to you. The job, especially on the catastrophe side, is going to, they're going to tell you, "Hey, we need you to go work claims in South Carolina." They don't care where you're coming from. And it may be that you already live in a rural area and all your family's there and you grew up there, it's your home. And you don't want to leave, right? You don't want to have to go off to the big city in order to make a great income. So you can stay home and in a place where there really aren't that many jobs or that many great jobs, and have a great job, right? And you can go travel and work and make a bunch of money, and not have to pick up and uproot yourself and your family and move to the big city, where you may or may not find great work, right? So, and then of course you've got the freedom to serve, right? So all of these things, having location freedom, financial freedom, and on top of that, this is a career where you can make a tangible difference in people's lives, and you can help them in their time of very serious crisis. When you go work a hurricane or a wildfire, people could have lost everything, and you're the first person to show up and to help them. And you've got a huge opportunity to make a major impact on their lives by helping them get back on their feet after a major catastrophe. So in this training, what you're going to learn is what an IA is, what an independent adjuster is, and what we do. And then, of course, what different types of work you can do as an independent adjuster. And you can, we're going to talk about how to know if this career is right for you. Is this a calling? Could this be a vocation for you? And then, of course, we're going to hit the no dead ends roadmap to a rewarding career as an independent adjuster, where we're basically going to go step by step into how to get the ball rolling and get started as an independent adjuster, how much it's going to cost, how long it'll take, all of those things. Now, who is Matt? Let's talk about Matt and see if I can do this in 3 minutes or less. So, I got a degree in broadcasting back in 1995 from Indiana University. I got a bachelor's degree, and I worked in broadcasting, did a bunch of TV stuff for a number of years. Worked TV news. I did broadcast sports, high school, college, and pro. Worked at the Food Network on several shows that they had, and really, really, really enjoyed doing broadcasting. It was super fun. Didn't pay very well. But then I think it's probably 97 or 98, my sister told me about this friend of hers who was a guitar player and a singer, and he played gigs. And what he did was he would go out on these, she said, quote, he'd go out on these hailstorms all summer long and come home with $75,000 in his checking account, and then spend the rest of the year over the winter playing gigs in the bars and having fun and, doing whatever. And of course, I was like 20, that time I was like 27 or 28, and that sounded great to me because I was a guitar player, not a very good singer, but I had a band and wanted to play out and everything, and it sounded like a great thing to do. Plus, I could do a little bit more creative stuff on the side with video. And so, but the job sounded like baloney. It sounded like, something that she made up, or it sounded like a scam, frankly. So I was hesitant, but after doing some research and calling some of these IA firms that, after talking to that guy, I discovered that it was actually could be legit. So I took the next steps to get into it. And sure enough, in 99, I went to Vail National, which I think is called Vail Training Solutions these days, and got the residential property insurance adjuster training that they had, and borrowed some money and got a laptop and got all the gear and everything. And then I got State Farm certified with one IA firm, and then sat on my rear end until May of 2000 when I had to beg to get on it, but I got on my first storm. And it took me probably 3 years to figure out how to get up into the first call list and how to make more than, how to make more money than I was making regularly just doing broadcast TV stuff. I was finally able to clear $100,000 a year, and it was my third year for sure. But it was hard, and I had to figure it all out myself. I didn't have the resources that are out there today. I mean, we had the internet back then, but it was pretty light on information about how to become an independent adjuster, and more importantly, how to become a good adjuster that, shortcuts a lot of the dead ends and the runaround stuff that you do, getting training that you don't need, that you're never going to use, etc. It was challenging, but I managed to get it figured out. My first hurricane was in 2004, probably gone over 3 minutes by now. And that was Hurricane Ivan, and that was an eye-opening experience. I'd already handled a lot of claims, and I was on first call lists by the time I got on that storm. But there was a lot of new people on that storm, and watching them flail around and crash and burn was kind of a signature moment for me. And it's one of the things that sort of like helped push me into writing my book and starting Adjuster TV. So fast forward 20 years, and we've got 20 years of field experience. I've got 10,000 plus closed claims as an independent adjuster. I've earned over 2.2 million gross in total fee schedule earnings, and that doesn't include money doing other things. That's all just fee schedule on CAT. And these days I'm debt-free. I've been debt-free for many years. I live and work full-time in an RV by choice. It's paid for. And my wife and I and our little dog, we can travel and live anywhere in the country that we want to. And I just want you to know that this is not rocket science. And, and if I can do this, you absolutely can. And you've got resources that I didn't have to get started as an independent adjuster and to really crush this and make it, make it a change in your life that's going to be worthwhile and will really change things for the better for you. So let's tackle a couple of definitions here. What is an insurance adjuster, right? It seems like a simple question, but adjusters work for insurance companies and investigate and settle claims that insureds make on their policies. So for example, we have Johnny Doe has a fire in his kitchen, which destroys everything and burns his house down. He files a claim on his homeowner's policy to help him pay for the damage, right? So what the adjuster does is, within the constraints of the policy that Johnny has on that particular property, will estimate the cost of repairs, or replacing in this case, and then pay Johnny, right? So what an adjuster is not, contrary to popular belief, insurance adjusters are not directed to find ways to not pay for covered damage. Their role exists to provide cost control in claims. In other words, if the carrier just let restoration contractors and roofers say what the job will cost, everything would be way more expensive than it already is. So if there were no adjusters and Johnny files a claim and his insurance company just says, all right, we'll just have your contractor just send us the bill and we'll pay it. What do you think those bills are going to look like? They're going to be as high as possible. There will be no control. There will be the carrier will end up paying more for the work than will be reasonable and customary, and they'll pass that cost along to all the rest of the policyholders in the form of high premiums, right? So it's the money has to come from somewhere, and if there were no adjusters, everybody's home insurance would be considerably more expensive. So what is an independent adjuster, right? So we have insurance adjusters, and then we have, which are, a staff adjuster, for example, and then we have independent adjusters, which are still insurance adjusters, but we work a little bit differently, right? So insurance companies have an obligation to respond to and investigate claims in a timely manner. If the insurance company has more claims than it can handle in a timely manner, with the people they have on staff, they will hire out independent contractors to help handle the claims until the volume subsides, right? So an independent adjuster is an independent contractor who is brought in to help close a volume of claims with the highest possible quality. Now, the key words here are volume and quality, right? So we have to have both of these. We can't have one without the other. And there are people who will say that you can't have both, that if you want to have a high quality claim and great customer service, you cannot also be fast. And I will definitely contend that has not been my experience, and that a lot of adjusters that I know are very fast and have great customer service and a very high quality file at the same time. And I think it's required for a fulfilling and rewarding career. You can't just be fast or be slow and have great customer and great quality. It's not a zero-sum game. You can have both. I believe it. So we have a couple of different types of independent adjuster that you may see kind of talked about on social media. And we've got, so there's a property, which is houses, personal property, fences, outbuildings, things like that. And then we have auto, which obviously is vehicles. We're going to talk about property independent adjusters because I'm a property IA. I have handled a little bit of auto here and there, but the vast majority of stuff I've ever done has been as a property catastrophe adjuster, but I have done all of these roles at one point or another. So for property independent adjusters, we've got daily, catastrophe, inside adjuster, and photo assist. And I'll talk about these in more detail here. So when carriers don't have enough staff personnel to handle all the claims filed in a territory, whether because they had an adjuster who quit or the agents are doing really well and they're selling a lot of policies in a particular area, but they don't have enough staff adjusters to cover the extra policies, they will often hire independent adjusters to help until the area can be staffed. And in some cases, they may have remote areas where it doesn't make sense for them to have a staff adjuster, and they'll just hire an independent adjuster to help with those claims. Daily claims, also known as regular claims or regular business claims, involve many peril types, including but certainly not limited to fire, water, theft, vandalism, third-party or liability claims, and vehicle damage. For example, if somebody loses control of their vehicle and crashes into the corner of your house, that's going to be covered under your policy. And a daily independent adjuster is going to find that daily claims are generally more complex and more time-consuming because you may have larger losses like fires and interior water damage that's more than just a water spot on the ceiling. It's not impossible for a brand new adjuster who's never handled a claim before with the right training and preparation to start out as a daily adjuster and get their feet, get this thing rolling without having to wait for a catastrophe event, which is the way a lot of adjusters got their start as independent adjusters, right? So usually with daily, you're going to work out of your own home locally, and these are going to be open-ended assignments. So they may say, if they hire you to do daily claims in your area, they may say for as long as you want, for years if you want to, or they may, until we get an adjuster hired into that spot as a staff adjuster, and so on and so forth. The pay is generally day rate or per claim or time and expense, which is T&E, which is another way of paying per claim, or hourly. On the catastrophe side, IAs, independent adjusters, are also hired when there's a large-scale event that causes enough damage that many hundreds or thousands of insureds file property claims at once. And these are hailstorms, wildfire, hurricanes, ice storms, earthquakes, tornadoes, things like that, even environmental catastrophes like oil spills, although those are not that common. Catastrophe claims usually require travel on short notice. The volume of claims will be much higher than daily, but the claims will be repetitive and usually localized, whereas on the daily side, the claims might be a wide variety. You might go to one house and it's a severe fire. The next house has the fence blown down, and then the next house has water damage on the floor. With catastrophe claims, they'll all be hail claims, and they'll all be, within a couple of miles of each other. Catastrophe deployments are going to last until the claims volume is low enough for the local carrier adjusters to take over. That could be a few weeks or a couple of months. So it's going to be, the deployments are a lot shorter, the assignments are a lot shorter, and you go until there's no more claims to do. Contrasted with daily, where you go and you go and you go and you go until you want to go do something else, basically. And the pay on catastrophe is usually per claim based on a fee schedule. And here is a sample fee schedule. And you can see where it says gross loss, about a third of the way down from the top of the page on the left. It says 0 to 2,500, 2,501 to 5,000, etc. Under wind and hail, that 0 to 2,500 is the $250 right there is what you would put on your invoice that is going to get turned into the carrier, right? And your IA firm that you work for is going to take a percentage of that. So you're not going to get, if you have a $2,000 claim, you're not going to get $250, taxes notwithstanding, but you won't get $250. You'll get 60 or 65% of $250. And it's been 60 or 65% It's been the split since I started back in '99. So it's been that way for a long time. And that's the way things go. And even with that split, you're still going to make a lot of money. This particular fee schedule is low, super low. You're going to see things are typically going to be a lot higher than this. So don't look at this and be like, oh, there's no way in the world I'd ever make money, doing this with this fee schedule. This is just a sample. So success as a catastrophe independent adjuster is going to be a direct result of excellent time management. Like I said before, volume, which is closing a lot of claims with great quality, is going to be directly a direct result of how well you can manage your time. So inside claims, another potential option for an independent adjuster is an inside adjuster is going to work in a claims office, and duties may include writing estimates for photo assist adjusters, and we'll talk about photo assist here in a minute, reviewing estimates from field adjusters, so doing file review, or providing administrative support. So if a field adjuster needs a prior claim pulled, this may be the job of an inside claims adjuster. Inside claims is a really great way to get started. It's a great way to network because you're going to be in an office with managers and people who make decisions, and you can get noticed and talk to people at the coffee maker and all that kind of stuff. The pay can be really, really good. It's usually a day rate, but sometimes it's an hourly, and will likely have 12-hour days, 7 days a week, right? Assignments are open-ended, but can be started and stopped on short notice. Like they may say, we need you for at least 2 weeks, and could be up to a year, but we don't know. And then 7 weeks in, they may say, okay, well, they don't need us anymore. We don't need you anymore. And then that's it. So it's the nature of this business is that things are going to start and stop suddenly. You're going to find yourself, working 6 months in Bismarck, North Dakota, and the next thing you know, you're spending 18 months in Miami, Florida. So it can be just like overnight. Like they call you, and then you're jumping in the car that afternoon and driving to Miami. And again, like I said, these are going to be in an office typically, so you'll have to travel and go and get a hotel or an Airbnb or some sort of temporary, long-term temporary housing in order to do these assignments, unless you just move to Dallas or whatever. But like I said, the assignment may not last, so you want to make sure that what you do is temporary. Photo assist is where you go out and take photos, video or live video, with a licensed desk adjuster. So you may go out, if you get a photo assist assignment, you may be told, well, just go out and take photos, upload those, and that's all we need. Or you may get on a live like FaceTime call with a licensed desk adjuster who will direct you on the inspection. They'll tell you everything to take pictures of. And so you're basically going to be the eyes on site for the desk adjuster either way. The only requirement is that you're able to climb roofs. No license or Xactimate or estimate writing ability is not required at this time for these sort of gigs. It's another really kind of a great way to get started. You're going to learn how to scope, how to interact with insureds while under pretty much no pressure. And because you don't make any coverage decisions, you're not licensed, you can't really talk about the stuff. You just, and some scheduling while you're getting your license and other training. So basically, you're able to, while you're building up, be doing something in claims, right? This will help you build a relationship with an IA firm. They will often select new adjusters from their virtual assist or photo assist pool, and these are paid per claim, generally between $50 and $200 a pop, depending on who you're with and the scope of the loss. But before you do anything else, you need to decide if this career is really, really for you. So what I would recommend is call IA firms and talk to them. Talk to somebody, an HR person or a recruiter, call and ask for recruiting, and talk to them about what a year in the life looks like for their most successful adjusters. Also, make friends with friendly, seemingly helpful folks on social media. And I suggest people do a job shadow. You'll hear it called a ride-along, which it is, but just the distinction here is going to be that you're doing a ride-along, but as a job shadow. This is not training, and this is not working for that adjuster, right? You're only going along and just watching this person work, right? So and maybe they'll answer some questions here and there, but you're not helping them write estimates. You are not scoping for them. You're not doing phone work. All you're doing, you may carry their ladder around and go fetch lunch and stuff while you guys are out in the field, but you're not going to do work or train with them. It's only to see if you're interested in this job, right? It's a purpose is to give you a small taste of the lifestyle and give you an idea of what the adjuster's workload looks like. Important thing to note on this, especially for CAT, is that don't ask around on Facebook if anybody in your area will let you ride along with them. If you're going to do CAT, you need to travel, and sometimes several states away. You'll also need to pay for that travel as well as your hotel. A true job shadow, in my case, would be to say, hey, I'd like to job shadow somebody and maybe help you carry your ladder, buy you a steak. Wherever you are, or wherever you're at in the country, I'll come to you and spend 2 or 3 days. I'll get my own hotel. I'll pay for all my own stuff. And I just want to sit in the back seat or sit in the front seat and just ride along with you, see how you do things, and maybe ask you questions from time to time, right? That's all you're doing, right? I highly recommend that you do that just so that you can kind of get an idea of what this job is actually like. And the travel, paying for the travel, driving there and getting hotels and all that stuff is what we do. So it's a part of the job. So this is going to be one of those things that helps you see, right? So if you do your job shadow, and you're ready to go all in as an IA, then let's talk about the steps to becoming an IA. This is our little roadmap. And step 1, the very first thing that you're going to do after you've decided that you're going to do this is to get your home state license. If your home state does not have a license, then you need to get your designated home state license. And depending on what state you're in, getting your license can take some time, so it's important to get this started as soon as possible. You really can't get on any rosters without a license. And if you happen to live in a state that does not license adjusters, then I would say that the top 3 best states to get your DHS are going to be Indiana, Texas, and Florida. Okay, so those are going to be reciprocal with most other states that do license adjusters. At the time of this video, Indiana is probably the easiest to get, but I know that the states are going to change things and update and everything. So it may be that Texas or Florida has sped up their process, so it doesn't take months to get their license, whereas Indiana could take days or weeks, right? Which is way shorter. Step 2, you need to start getting Xactimate training, and preferably train to a level 2 certification, right? You don't necessarily have to test and get that certification. This is more for your benefit than really anybody else. You can put on your resume that you have taken training for level 2 and that you practice all the time, because the true test of whether you're going to continue to stay on somebody's roster is going to be how well you do the job. They'll put you on their roster without very many qualifications. It's not hard to get on a roster. It's hard to stay on the roster, right? So this is going to be for your benefit. So start with getting, training to level 2, and then practice as much as possible. Make up scenarios in your house. Climb on your roof, take pictures, measure your roof, write estimates, put the photos in, label the photos, write a little activity diary, and do that over and over and over and over again so that you can find things quickly. Because when you do get deployed, you're going to need to be fast in the software. It's one of the biggest choke points that slows people down. Step number 3, and this could be, technically step number 0, start saving, right? Compared to getting a college degree, this is pennies, but there is some startup, and you're going to need to have money for going to your first storm event, right? You can't just show up with nothing in your checking account, because you're not going to get paid until you start closing claims, and that might take a week or 2 or 3. You're going to need money for gear. You need to have an updated modern laptop. You don't need to buy a gaming laptop or something that costs $2,700, but you do need a good laptop that fulfills the system requirements that Xactware has for Xactimate. Plus, you need a printer, a ladder, and chalk and cougar paws and a belt, and you need all kinds of stuff. So there's a lot of little gear that you're going to need to have so that when you show up, you're ready to hit the ground running. Camera. You will need to get training. You cannot expect to make $100,000 a year with no training. And if you look here, it says at least $2,000 in training. You can get pretty good quality basic adjuster training for anywhere from $700 to a couple of $1,000s. When you start paying higher than $2,000 for that training, not including travel, that's when the training's the quality is really going to start to show itself, and the level of preparation that you have, so that when you do get on your first storm, that you're able to knock it out of the park instead of getting knocked on your butt, right? And if you think about it this way, even with just the training alone, if you spent $5,000 on super high quality training, you could make that back in 2 weeks doing as a catastrophe adjuster. So let's not be too freaked out by the numbers. There is definitely startup costs, but it's in the grand scheme of things, it's it's like spending $1 to get back 10. Okay, you're going to need to do networking events, including conferences, carrier certifications, firm orientations. These things cost money to travel. A lot of them are free, but to get there and to pay for the hotel and stuff like that, it does cost money. So I would budget, personally, if I was starting from scratch, I would budget $10,000 and I would save that up. And in the meantime, I get my license, get as many licenses as possible, starting with my home state, and start collecting gear. And then when I'm, ready to go on my first storm, I've got $2,500 sitting in my checking account waiting to be spent on hotels, and I've already spent all the rest of this stuff on my training and gear and networking and all that stuff. So you don't have to spend $10,000 or more to get started as an independent adjuster, but for the best chance at being successful, you're going to need all the training, gear, and networking you can get your hands on. And, college costs at least 10 times as much as that, and we'll guarantee you a job with your bachelor's degree of making $35,000 a year to start. So let's keep things in perspective. Okay, step 4. Attend the highest quality independent adjuster specific training that you can find, right? So we talked about the cost of all that stuff in step 3, but step 4, we need to do it, right? And I personally would suggest not to budget in rope and harness or drone training. Use the money that you would have spent on those things to pay for the best independent adjuster specific training that you can get your hands on, right? I have rope and harness. I've been trained. I have the gear. It's in my truck. I've had it in there for 10 years and I've used it 6 times. And that's, 5,000 claims. It's not something that gets used very often. So you have to think about these things. They're not deal breakers. If you have rope and harness on your resume, or you have a drone and you've got all this drone training or Part 107 on your resume, it's not going to have any effect on whether you get hired at an IA firm. It's zero. If that stuff's not on there, you have the same chance of getting on their roster, which is pretty high, because the bar to getting in is low, the bar to staying in is very high. So just keep that in mind. Step 5, again, we want to attend all the networking events that we can get our hands on, right? So we're talking about conferences and job fairs. The National Association of Catastrophe Adjusters has an outstanding convention every single January, where all of the major IA firms and dozens of the lesser, not quite so major ones are at, and they have a job fair where you can sit down and set an appointment during the day between your continuing education courses and all that stuff. You can sit down and interview with them. You get 10 or 15 minutes with whoever you want. It's and you can make multiple appointments with them, and they will sit down and talk to you, and they'll evaluate you. You take your resume, and you can evaluate them. Do I like these people? These are the kind of people this is their corporate culture. Do I like it? Do I want to work for these guys? You can pick and choose, and they're all going to be there, so you can interview with everybody you can. Again, IA firms have their own conventions. A lot of them are free, and a lot of times outside of that, they will have little orientations where once you get on their roster, they'll say, we need you to come and get State Farm certified or whoever certified, and it takes 2 or 3 days. It's free, but you have to pay for hotel and travel and all that stuff. Those are excellent networking events, networking opportunities to get put your face to your name, and maybe pull a manager aside and ask them a couple of questions, or they're excellent opportunities to find out opportunities to make friends and to network. I mean, you've got to network in this job, otherwise you're going to be sitting at home waiting by the phone. The more people you know, the more opportunities you have for your phone ringing. Let's put it that way. And finally, step 6, don't quit your day job. If you already quit your day job and you're a couple of steps ahead of this, and you're waiting by the phone for a CAT deployment, and you don't have any other work, I'm going to highly recommend that you try to find some other kind of work. If you want to make yourself available for CAT deployments, and you want to back out of your current 9-to-5 job, you have to replace that with other work, and work that you can get easily and that you can quit easily, right? So that you can turn it on and off fast. Daily claims is something that you can absolutely do. Photo Assist will let you do that. You can even do stuff like Uber, Grubhub, and the other gig economy stuff. It doesn't pay as well unless you spend a lot of hours every day doing it, but it can help keep the lights on, right? And that's the important thing until you get deployed on your CAT. Okay, so a little tough love here. It's super important that you understand that there's no quick and easy path into becoming a successful independent adjuster. There is a reason that not many people do this job. It takes more work than a lot of people are used to in order to get it up and running and to keep it up and running. But the rewards are great, right? Successful independent adjusters are resourceful. They've got grit, right? We talked about earlier. They're willing to put in a lot of long hours, and a lot of long hours that don't seem to have any tangible reward to them right now. And they believe, right? So what do I mean by believe? You have faith that if you really put your shoulder into this and you never lose patience with the process, that the rewards at the end will make it all so much more than worth it, okay? So what is next? If this all sounds great to you and you're ready to jump in and make a huge change in your life, for you and your family, then I invite you to come on over to the Adjuster TV Facebook group and join thousands of other people just like you, people who are wanting to make it, to wanting to transition into something that's greater, that's better, and that gives them the ability to use your intellect and your creativity to close more claims in a day without losing quality. You'll get paid more money and you'll get more deployments. And for me, that's one of the biggest draws, right? Join a group of people who aren't willing to sit back and let life happen to them, right? So I have curated a community in that Facebook group. It's totally free. Part of getting into that group is that people have to promise that they're going to be respectful and they're not going to be rude to other people. So if you want to go into a Facebook group, if you've gotten into Facebook groups and you ask questions and you've had people make fun of you or mock you or be super rude to you and tell you don't know, this is the reason why they're yada yada. I mean, if you've tried to ask a question or you've been in any other Facebook groups, you probably have seen it. It's not allowed in my Facebook group. If I see that, the person that's doing that's being rude, is going to get kicked. One strike, and they're out. Okay, so this is a respectful place for inexperienced adjusters or new people to learn, and for experienced adjusters to be able to mentor them and to help them. So that's the culture that I've cultivated there, and I guard that. And it's very, very serious to me that stays that way. So there's no snarky, rudeness, and we keep it clean over there. So it's a good group. And again, like I said, it's totally free. So remember, the only dumb question is the one that doesn't get asked. And you can head on over to that Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/adjustertv. And I really hope that you guys pop on over and visit us, and you can join. Joining is super easy. You answer a couple questions and we'll let you right in there. And ask your questions, and you can message me directly, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about this particular crazy, strange, weird, cool job that I've been doing for 20 years, and we need good people. And So you're welcome to come in and say hi. And hopefully this training has helped you, and we'll see you in the Facebook group.